view. Okay. All right, that's good. Yeah, I might take a nap. That was a long walk. All right, so not the most comfortable. It's like one of those harem beds with the pillows. All right, wait. Okay, all right, ooh, this is good. So what did I want to talk about? Based on an email I got today, I figured I'd talk about a couple things. One thing, what time is it? Okay, I'll talk about this one thing. People have asked me a lot, well, not a lot, but a significant amount of people have asked me if YouTube was my full-time job. If that's all I do is YouTube. And the answer is no. And I think people need to understand that. When the shutdown first happened, yes, I did indeed lose my business because I was deemed, non-essential or whatever. So yeah, business dried up, it was dead. So what I did was I started doing Facebook Lives, and that turned into, I had the YouTube channel for like a year before that. I never really did anything with it, but I was like, oh, let me post these on YouTube too, because on Facebook they were getting thousands of views, because I was like driving up and down the strip while they were shutting everything down and boarding everything up, and people wanted to see that. I'm like, let me put this on YouTube too. So that's how I started the YouTube channel. Got monetized in like 3 months. It got monetized, which is pretty amazing. That means in order to get monetized on YouTube, you have to have 1,000 or more subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. And fortunately, right place, right time. And me, I give 0 F, so I was out every day driving and doing my thing while everyone else was, hiding under their bed like it was the end of the world. So the channel frickin' exploded fast. So yeah, got monetized fast, started making bucks. Like the first day on YouTube after monetization, I made 67 cents. I was like, whoa, 67 cents, no way. Okay, so yeah, full-time was, I wouldn't even say my income. Even like as it grew and the shutdown progressed and we went through the thing over the face, and then not the thing over the face, and then back with the thing over the face, and then the 12 feet, then the 6 feet, then the thing over the face, and the 25%, and the 50%, and the 75%, and then back with the thing, and off with the thing. We did that whole aerobics for a while, and I brought that all to everyone live, but I was living off my savings. I'm still, for all intents and purposes, living off my savings, because I was a photographer for close to 3 decades, I mean, that was all that I did was, straight out of high school, I drove a truck at Kennedy Airport. Remember Flying Tigers back in the day? Cool silver trucks and everything, silver and red planes, Flying Tigers. I drove a truck for Flying Tigers until I could afford everything, because it was proportionately equally expensive back then for professional photo gear as it is now. So I did that until I had a bankroll put together, plus a few months, but then it just freaking exploded. Well, I'll talk about my career. Remind me next time we do live. I'll tell you all about my career and my history about that. I think you'll find it equally entertaining. So yeah, and I was just in the point before the shutdown that I was fixing to, start slowing down, perhaps get into something else. I was doing, 3 or 4, photo shoots a week and whatever. But I was focusing more on the retail and not so much the commercial. And I used to do some conventions, some videography and photos and stuff like that. But, I started gearing towards the retail end. So yeah, that dried up and no signs of coming back. But why I'm not getting back into that, that's another story for another end of a live stream. So, YouTube, back to the original question. Is it my job? No. I currently, after that's all I did, yes, for about a year, because there was nothing else to do, because, Governor Buzzkill was like, hey, you're non-essential, but, Walmart was for some reason. So it was what it was. So that, that rug got pulled out from under, and I was thankful for the income that was coming in, because, it slows the bleeding, of course, because like I said, I was living off savings. So full-time, you'd think this was a full-time job, because I put, because it's 7 days a week, because I like being prolific. I like, putting content out, and YouTube is such a creature that unless you got a really big following, you just can't put out one video a week and, expect it to make any moves. So they got me pigeonholed into this like daily thing. Like when I had my surgery and I didn't post anything for like 3 weeks, it was just like, YouTube was like, F you, you're not making us any money anymore. But, lesson learned. But it's never been a full-time job, although it is full-time hours. I work anywhere from, I would say I average about 4 to 5 hours a day. Just, I'm getting way too comfortable. I average about 4 or 5 hours a day working on YouTube, because that's what it takes, even during these live streams. Like, well, you're live for an hour and a half. How's that 4 hours? Well, the planning, the actual stream, I gotta make thumbnails, I gotta make, I gotta do the keywords, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. Then when it's over, I gotta like set up the ads, I gotta put on the end screens, there's work involved behind the scenes that people don't see. So that's like another hour, an hour and a half to do the live stream, an hour for driving. So it's 4 hours, even if I just do a live stream. And then if I'm editing a video, go out and shoot the video, drive down to the strip, shoot everything. Usually I try to shoot like 1 or 2 or after a live stream, still a couple hours, go home. Editing could take anywhere from 1 to 3 hours, depending on the video, especially if the audio is a little wonky, because audio's, it's a bitch. So I average about 4 to 5 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, am I making money at it? Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I do make money from YouTube, and I make money from the ad revenue. I make money from people clicking on the links in the description below and all that other type of stuff. But it's not money you could possibly live off of, even if you had like a very low expectations in life. The way things are now, I mean, even if I have like a 1-bedroom apartment here in town, they're $1,500. There's no way a channel with, 20,000 subscribers like my own can do it full time. I do YouTube because I enjoy it. I do YouTube because you guys are my friends. I enjoy YouTube because it gives me an outlet to talk. I do it for the fun. I do it for the potential that it has, which we'll discuss another time. the potential that it has. But as far as the potential reach of my channel being at 20,000, that's pretty much where it's gonna stay. That's how I see it, because the growth, the growth was like exponential for a while, but that was because of the shutdown. Yeah, part of it's me, I have experience in this, but not everyone's cup of tea. But I see 20,000 as like, where the channel is gonna stay. It might grow like incrementally here and there, and yeah, get 25, get 30. If it happens, it happens, but it's not something I'm shooting for in this format. I'd have to change the format of what I'm doing in order to break through. There's so many people, you guys know that, there's so many people in town streaming. There's gotta be like, what, 20 or 30 now? So I've achieved my audience and they've achieved their audience, and we share audience members and we got our loyals and everything, but everyone's kind of eating from the same pie right now. So, there's not going to be that much growth for anyone. So everyone's going to have to try to do new tricks and all this other stuff, whatever. But I'm content with what it is. In order to like make a living off of YouTube, I would say you'd have to have 100,000 subscribers. And if you did the links, and if you had some channel partners, and if you had a very generous audience, and if you had the right demographic, because I could make a video about the RW. Like, take 5 random YouTubers. We could each make the same video and stand side by side and go through the whole thing, and we'd all make different money because of our demographic. I'm fortunate enough, I'm in like a really sweet demographic. If your demographic is too young, you make squat. Like if your channel is geared for like in the 20s, no offense against people in their 20s, but advertisers do not like people in their 20s because they feel they don't have the discretionary income. So you're gonna get the game ads and that type of stuff. But like my demographic, you see some of my commercials, yeah, they toss the game ads in there, but once the video settles in, I got Subaru, Ford, the drug companies, Verbo, I have like the big advertisers which pay more because of the demographics. So I'm fortunate enough to have like a primo demographic. So I'm probably making as much as a larger channel who doesn't have as good a demographic. But all that being said, until you have like 100,000 plus, it's not a full-time gig, no matter how, there's just not enough there. So why do I do it? I do it for the fun, I do it for the camaraderie, I do it for the love. Now, I could make the channel explode if I wanted to, and I don't know if I want to do it. Like I could intermingle Vegas with other things. Like if I got into, because I love to talk, if I got into trending topics and, commented on, Amber and Johnny Depp and all that stuff, the channel would freaking explode. If I made it less Vegas centric, I know I would lose a portion of my audience who's only in it for Vegas. They know, like, if my channel, if the stream just died now, they'd hop on someone else's channel because all they care about is Vegas. And I have no problem with that whatsoever. They're not necessarily here for me. And then there's another portion of my audience that's here for me, and I could probably do it at a cornfield in Nebraska, and they'd probably still stick around, and everyone else is kind of in the middle. So I could break through if I wanted to. I just got to see if I want to or not. Keep things simple. But this is like my third job, believe it or not. So getting back to the original question, is this all you do? No, this is not all I do. I don't even believe in that whole side hustle thing. Look at me, side hustle. That's for kids on a frickin' bike route. That's the dumbest expression ever. Gary V with the side hustle. Okay. I do I do commercial work now. I do commercial streaming. I do commercial media content for some very large ass companies, and I don't talk about it much, but that's what I geared when the photography thing waned. I saw a niche in the live streaming, which was inspired by this here YouTube. And I went after the commercial business. So what does that mean? It means live streaming conventions, means virtual meetings, means virtual events and things like that. That's what I do. This is like the most base form of streaming. I got my phone, I got my blah, blah. My other setups are like 3 computers, enclosures, $1,000 software, several of them, cameras, PTZ setups. You wouldn't believe cradle points with 9 antennas sticking out, with 17 different SIM cards from different freaking companies to get signals, networking, PoE networking consoles, the whole stuff. But I don't really talk about that. You guys kind of know, but not. And I am also the creative director for a multi-million-dollar startup company. So I handle all their it's a wonderful, wonderful company that has an amazing future, and they serve Fortune 500 companies too. So through them, I'm serving some very large companies for media content, for presentations and all that type of stuff too. So that is my title with that. I'm a creative director. So that's one hat I wear. My commercial level streaming and live events that I do, and toss in the YouTube on top of that. So it's technically like 3 things that I do. So, say, well, what do you do with it? So obviously, I do it because I love it. I'm a ham, I'm a showman. I like being in public. I like being on stage. I like having a good time, and I like hanging out, and I love Vegas. So it's just like a natural fit. Now, like I said, I could take this to a whole nother level and have 500,000 subscribers in a year or so. I know I could. It's just a matter of, do I want to? Because there's only so many hours. If I'm putting in, 30 hours on this, 30 hours being a creative director, 30 hours on, my other projects, I'm working like 60 to 70 hours is a slow week. Now, is this work? Yeah, yes and no. It's okay. I wouldn't call it work. I'm not like freaking, shoveling shit in the street. I'm not up on a roof, slinging tar, but it's still tiring. It's mentally tiring. It's physically tiring, walking around, juggling with YT's algorithm and fighting with them all the time. And so it's mentally and it's physically tiring, but 60, 70 hours that would be like a light week. I've done some weeks in the past couple of months in the like 100, 120 hours. And you're like, when the F do you sleep? I work 7 days a week, and I've been working 7 days a week for a year, So no, YouTube is not a full-time job, although it requires full-time hours. I could never live off of what YouTube basically pays for itself, because there is overhead involved. Believe it or not, there is overhead involved. Why, what overhead? You just got a camera and a gimbal and you walk around. No, there's server costs, there's equipment costs, there's gas costs, there's, when I go park at frickin' Caesars on a Saturday night, it costs me $35 before I even show up. This phone, I got a commercial plan on that. It's $150 a month. I don't even need that phone if I wasn't doing this. So yeah, there's overhead. It's a couple hundred a month, 300 to 400 a month. Divide that by 12 live streams. It adds up. Like before I even press the button, it's $50. So there is overhead, but YouTube pays for itself. So long story short, No, YouTube is not my career, though I could turn it into one. I put in the hours as though it was one, but again, I have two other business interests, both being commercial, so I do three things. If that's what it takes, then that's what it takes. And am I a sellout now because I got Olight? Now I'm gonna put the links up soon. I got Ancient Treasures. I got Snailax. I got a few companies that, sponsor, I wouldn't say sponsor, but channel partners, and link in the description and all that other type of stuff. Amazon links in the description. You know what I get out of that? 1%. So you got to spend $100 for me to get $1. That's how Amazon works. So no one's getting rich off of Amazon because they cut that shit down from like 6% down to 1 and 2% during the pandemic, because they were like, what do we need these jackasses for? Everyone's shopping with us anyway. So they cut everyone in half. But you got to have links, But you get 1%, $10 on 1,000. So, no one's getting rich off of that, but these channel partners help. Am I selling out? No. If people, how can I put this? If people don't think it's a fair trade to listen to me speak about Olight, and I do it in a fun way, it's still entertaining AF, right? If people don't want to hear me speak about Olight for 5 minutes in exchange for an hour and a half of entertainment, I don't know what to tell you. I think that's a really, really fair trade, If people don't like that, if it was their channel, you'd do it too. Nothing in life is free. I'd be a fool not to, who's that altruistic that, they're not going to, I've always said I'll sell products, but I have to stand behind them. And I appreciate everyone who buys those because, I do make, all right, someone buys a Warrior 3, I probably get $5. I ain't gonna lie, $5 out of 100 or whatever. Cool. Am I going to get rich doing it? No, but it keeps me, it keeps the channel moving along, because if there was nothing coming out of it, I wouldn't be out here doing it, I'd be keeping it real small and hanging out with people and telling these people, hey, let's sit down, let's just chill, But yeah, of course I'm going to try to make a couple bucks off the channel, duh. And if someone thinks that, like I said, it's not a fair trade to listen to me say, click on the links in the description in every video, for the 20 minutes of pure entertainment I do prior or after that, I don't know what to tell you. But name me any other place where you can go and have that, and be entertained with no cover, You pay subscriptions for everything. Not like, I'm not like being a D about it, but I think that's, if someone says, hey, you're a sellout with that Olight, but who freaking cares? Link in the description, 10% off, use my coupon code. So be it. Does that distract from everything else we did tonight? If you feel that way, there's plenty of other channels out there, Is what it is. So, what time is it? Oh, 7:20 already. Wow, we're going on 2 hours. So I think I answered that question. We'll get into more things. I think maybe next time we chat, I'll tell you more about my commercial businesses. No, before we do that, remind me next time we lay down on a couch together, remind me to tell you about my history in the business before, in the photography business, and why I'm not seeking to restart that, because there's several very specific reasons why I'm not starting that back up again. So that's a topic, but we're friends, so I figured I'd put it out there. So to answer your question, if anyone ever asks you, no, can you make a living full-time on YouTube if you have very low expectations, or you have 100,000 plus extremely loyal followers in a very, very good demographic. Like you see some channels, like commentating channels, that have like 500,000 subscribers, they're making nothing. You think, oh, they got 500,000 subscribers, they got to be making bank, you know, but they're not, because YouTube is like, you know, they're freaking out. Oh, you can't say that, you can't, you're stifled, you know, you're muffled. Oh, you can't say this about that, you can't say that about this, you can't say this about that. So they eliminate all the popular topics, and they tell you, oh, you know, we've limited this, we've limited the ads on this video, so guess what? You're not getting paid. But then you go and play it and you see ads all over it. And who are you gonna complain to? No one. You know, but that's just how it works. It's like these unwritten rules. So you could get hugely popular talking about current events and politics and, you know, choose a side and duke it out with the audience and whatever. But those channels don't make money either. You know, even with like 1 million subscribers, they're making squat because they're getting demonetized left and right. So, you know, there's ways to do it. But all that being said, the purpose of this conversation is just to clear up some things, because I have been asked that a lot, and I was inspired by an email I got today. And what else? I'm not going anywhere. So don't expect me to go. I'm not going anywhere. That is not the purpose of this. But we're friends, so I figured I'd bring some clarity to that situation. I do this because I want to. And yes, it is time-consuming AF. And I average 70 to 100 hours a week work, and YouTube is about 35%, 25 to 35% of the time I spend alive is spent on YouTube. And for the hours or two, you know, the few hours we spend each week, this is when I get to relax and hang out with you people, because you guys truly are my extended family and friends, and I love you guys. So I'm gonna make you sit through. Let me just see something real quick. Yeah, right? I should just take some of these home. Maybe I should put them like down my pants. Think they'll notice? Tell them I got butt implants. These are kind of comfy. This couch is not freaking comfortable. This is meant to be looked at, not freaking laid on. But cool. So I'm gonna make you sit through 3 minutes of this. So if you're new to the channel, go ahead and like, share, subscribe, and especially hit that bell button to get notified when I do this again, which is 2 to 4 times a week. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can do that with Patreon, get a channel membership, or click on any links in the description below, especially my channel partner, Olight. Gotta love you some Olight. Use my coupon code and the link down here and score yourself 10% off the finest flashlights and EDC carry gear known to man. And I want to thank everyone who super chatted tonight. That is most appreciated. And let's see, I got a video coming out tomorrow. And then we'll be back to live streaming on Monday. And Tuesday I go in for, you can see like I'm already having like issues. I'm getting a whole bunch more stuff. I got to get my whole mouth cut again on Tuesday, but it's not going to be that severe. But yeah, it's going to be a trip. So Tuesday, you know, toss up some blessings. I'm going in at 11 o'clock my time. Should be home by 1 or 2, and you know, I'm probably just going to crash after that. But I'll keep everyone apprised of what's going on or what's not going on. But I don't think it's not nowhere near what I did last time where I was down for the count. If I'm out for a day, it'd be a miracle. But yeah, just keep me in your thoughts, prayers, and blessing toss-ups and lights and energies and all that other type of stuff. That'd be freaking cool. And I love you guys, and I look forward to talking again. I've missed like all this chat that's going by because like I'm not even remotely near the phone, but I'll catch up with it. I'll watch it tonight. If any pertinent questions are in there, I'll answer them next time. So I appreciate you hanging out with me. And I'm gonna go see a man about a horse, and I love you guys, and I appreciate each and every one of you. And on that note, oh, last minute 20 banana ramas. Oh, okay, let me do that real quick, because I know I probably missed a few. Steve B with the 20 banana ramas. Great stream, bro. You are welcome. 10 banana ramas from Rhonda. Thank you very much. And Phil with a 5 banana rama super chat. You did a 40-second video on your time. You know what it takes, bro. You've been there with me. And Captain Kirk became a member, and Nicholas got all sorts of new subscribers tonight. So you got to know me a little better. We hung out on the couch together. How can we be more close than this? Love you guys. And on that note, Bror Fredrik out.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.